Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course, stream for fun. Today we are redoing Nintendo Direct for June 2024. It was really frustrated because I found out, well after the fact, which I should have checked on Twitch. I should have checked before I even put it on YouTube. And I'll have to start checking again, just like I'm doing right now. Make sure that I'm actually in a party on Xbox, before I actually stream. Because, if you're not in a party and you're trying to stream off of Twitch on Xbox, it's all jittery and the audio is all messed up. It's a mess. So anyway, I'm redoing this. If you're not that interested, hey, that's okay. Thanks for clicking on the channel. And there's plenty of other content too to look into. But yeah, I want to do Nintendo Direct because this is one of the bigger showcases that we have around this time of the year. I already did PlayStation, already did Xbox, already did Ubisoft, already did Summer Game Fest, and so this will be the last one until we get toward the end of the year for showcases. And I know we've had a lot of showcases lately, but again, I think it's important to also do Nintendo, is that they're one of the main three consoles and affect the gaming industry. So let's go ahead and get into this. The format is just working through games actually pretty quickly, and then my final thoughts at the end. So we saw Mario Luigi Brothership. This is November 7th of 2024. Very much co-op focused with multiple lands and bosses to work through. There's even co-op combos that you can work with other people. And we all, this is full of characters that we know and love, including Bowser and the other Koopas and stuff, and it honestly looks pretty good. It also doesn't look very graphically demanding, but it still looks pretty well graphically for like this Switch that we have. Next, we got to see World Championships NES Edition. Now, I wasn't really sure what this was, but this is coming out July 18th of this year. And this is where you get to play all of the old NES games, and you actually get to compete with other real players in real time. And there's timed leaderboards. There's also like quad screen stuff to be able to compete against other players. It honestly looked pretty fun, and we got to see some old classics like Mario Bros. 3, Excitebike, Legend of Zelda, Metroid Prime, etc. We got to see a lot of these different games. So there's quite a few on here. Looks like a total list of somewhere between 25, 30 games. And again, they're all time trialed. You can even compete with other people in real time instead of just competing with yourself. You can also see how other players are doing, which that totally creates a new dynamic when you know other people are watching and competing against you. And honestly, yeah, it looked pretty good. There's a lot of full of wonderful classics that saved the industry back in with the '83 crash, and we got the NES in '85, and that basically helped save the gaming industry back then. So, yeah, big piece of history there, even before I was born, even though I'm pretty old. Next, we got to see Fairy Tail 2. This was fall of 2024. This very much plays like a classic Final Fantasy turn-based RPG. And so if you're kind of missing that, if you're wanting that to kind of come back to the Final Fantasy space, I highly suggest taking a look at Fairy Tail 2. That'll be coming out because, yeah, we don't really have a lot of turn-based anymore. It's a lot more action-packed. It's a lot more all real-time. It's just faster-paced combat. There's also less development, I find, usually in story, too. And people are just less patient than they used to be. And so for some of us that really miss the development and the focus and the story and character development and stuff, we really miss some of these turn-based RPGs. But yeah, they're not gone. They're still around, which is wonderful. Next, we got to see Fantasian. This is holiday of 2024. We can probably expect this before Black Friday, before Thanksgiving. But probably somewhere right at the end of October or sometime in November. That's my guess. But yeah, Fantasian, again, looked like another fairly fun kind of like story-driven fantasy game. Yeah, that'll be coming this holiday. Next, we got to see that Nintendo Sports is having a basketball update. They will have local play and multiplayer of up to 4 people at a time playing basically half-court basketball. And they're just adding another sport, another free update for everybody to the Nintendo Sports game, which is great. Next, we got to see Mio. This is 2025. This is like a side scroller, very much kind of like Hollow Knight play. Yeah, very much a side scroller, 2D, and it did look fairly interesting. Again, I don't think it's going to be amazing or anything, but it did actually look like a pretty good game. So if you're looking for something before maybe some of these others come out, or well, actually, this is coming out in 25. Never mind. If you're waiting for some other stuff to come out in 25 after some other showcases, Mio might be a good choice for you. Next, we got to see Hello Kitty Adventure Island. This is also coming out in 2025. Multiple islands, basically, connect with other players, connect with other characters in the game, and hey, it's Hello Kitty Island Adventures. Next, we also got a free update for Among Us, and so this is actually out now. They're working on just adding some more things for the imposters that they can have. So there's like Noisemaker, and there's being able to like phantom ghost around people and actually watch what they're doing and wait for the opportune time to kill somebody instead of actually being visible. So that just adds kind of like new levels to the game, and keeps it a little more fresh. Next, we also got to see Farmagia. This is November 1st, 2024, and this is where you get to farm your own monsters. It actually kind of looked interesting, and then you get to train them, and then you get to have fights with them in real time, up to looked like, a dozen of them at a time. I don't know exactly how many monsters you can have running with you at a time, but it very much kind of looked like a cross of Monster Hunter Rancher and Pikmin. And so if you kind of like Pikmin, of having those little things following you around, this will very much be like this, except it's more like Monster Rancher style of monsters, and you get to grow them. So that's kind of a corny, funny idea. But hey, it does actually look kind of fun. Next, we got to see Donkey Kong Returns HD. This is January 16th, 2025. This will also be two-player co-op, and we're also going to have 80 levels of gameplay. So this is actually going to be a pretty flippin' huge game. We're even going to have some old levels from, this is a culmination of levels between multiple Donkey Kong games, and that's why there's so many levels to this. And then two-player co-op, that's wonderful. And it honestly didn't look just like it was multiplayer, but also split-screen too. Next, we got to see Dragon Quest III Remake. So again, I haven't played the Dragon Quest, but they've been around for quite a while. This is coming out November 14th of this year, and this looks like a 2.5D turn-based combat game. And again, it looks pretty good. Again, 2.5D is always nice because you kind of get that depth a little bit instead of just 2D top-down or 2D side-scroll. This is 2.5, so it's kind of 3D, just a tad, but not quite there. But honestly, this one actually looks pretty good as well. We also got an announcement right after this for Dragon Quest 1 and 2 Remake in 2025. So if you eventually want to get the entire series, you can. And those will all be coming probably within 6 months of each other. Next, we got to see Funko Fusion. This will be September 13th, and this is where you get to play as Funko Pops in multiple levels. There's also multiple bosses, and there's 60 Funkos to actually play, and you get to be in their world. So anywhere from Jurassic Park to Battlestar Galactica to Five Nights at Freddy's, etc. And so there's quite a few, and you get to play in those worlds and have tools and gadgets and weapons and get to kind of play through some of the story of those worlds. So that looked pretty interesting. And a lot of this is also geared toward older folks, such as myself, because Battlestar Galactica really hasn't been around for a long time. So this isn't just geared toward new folks, maybe like Five Nights at Freddy's, but also some older folks too. Because, yeah, Jurassic Park and Battlestar Galactica, those are kind of some IPs that have been around for a long time. Next, we got to see Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. So this is basically a remake. This will be coming out June 27th, honestly, literally like in a few days. And again, it's Luigi's Mansion 2 just with redefinition, which just looks better. It looked like it played the same. The screenshots look the same, just everything just looks better. So honestly, and that's a classic game too. That's one we would probably want as a remake, and yeah, it looks great. Next is Metal Slug Attack Reloaded. This is actually out right now, and so if you're a Metal Slug fan for those arcade games back in the day, this is definitely going to be for you. So there's story to play through, there's also co-op to do, and then there's also PvP to do also in the game. And that's currently out now. Next, we got to see Dragon Quest II. So again, I don't know the IP, but this is coming out July 15th. It looked like, again, this was kind of like some 3D open world exploration, and you're just finally getting some more of that. Darkest Dungeon. I can't. I should have looked up when the last game was, but yeah, this is just an expansion on the story and the characters. It honestly looked fairly good. Next, we're getting a classics. This is going to be available online, plus expansion pack for expansion pack members. I don't really know what that is. Again, I don't have a Switch, but apparently this is kind of like their version of Game Pass in a way, or like PlayStation Plus. But you're getting Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, Four Swords, which this is going to be up to 4 players, and you get to play through that and have a blast. You're also getting Metroid Zero Mission, Turark, which looks super freaking old school, folks, like N64 old. And then we're also getting Perfect Dark. So again, these are not remakes. They're just ports over to the Switch, if that makes sense. Next, we're getting Phantom Brave, Lost Hero. This is coming up 2025. Again, it's character-focused, kind of 2.5D looking, and character development and stuff, and it looks like another somewhat fun game to play through. If you kind of like those stories, maybe like Stardew, or maybe like Dungeon Quest. If you're kind of into those style of games, you'll probably look this one. But definitely check out the trailer. Again, there's a trailer for every single one of these that you can look up if any of these sound interesting. But yeah, that was Phantom Brave, Lost Hero. This is coming out in 25. Next, we got the Fighting Collection. We got 5 different games. This is coming out in fall 2024. Again, these are kind of like Super Nintendo classics. Yeah, it's a fighting collection that you can get, and one of them, I think the Punisher, did also have co-op available for it. The others, I don't think they did. It was just more story driven. But yeah, fighting collection, fall of 2024. Next, we got to see Super Mario Party Jamboree. This is October 17th. We've probably been waiting for a Super Mario Party game for a while. This has new maps, new gameplay styles, new mini-games, which there's 110 mini-games, by the way. And then we have all the way up to 20-player versus. Now, one thing I don't appreciate is we're starting to see more and more games where there's actually more players involved. And while that can be good, it can also convolute the experience and be a little messy or whatever. But this is basically kind of like the 20-player versus looked like it was from A to B, and only so many people are going to progress forward when they cross the finish line, and the rest that don't make it in time, they'll be kicked out and they'll have to start anew. But yeah, it did actually look pretty good because there's the new maps in there. There's the new play styles. Like one of them was everyone's in a vehicle and running around kind of like a racetrack with dots on it with spaces, and you still got to roll dice. But there's some other different elements to the racetrack experience where you can kind of like boost over or be able to have more opportunities to get further in the map as you're kind of racing each other to get to the finish line or go through so many laps. So that looks interesting. But yeah, this one honestly looks pretty good. It's got some of those old classic features we enjoy, and then also some new stuff as well. That's October 17th. Next, we got to see Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. This is September 26th. And I gotta say, personally, I wasn't overly excited for this one. And it's because you don't get to play as Link. And I grew up playing Link. I've grown up playing Link for a long time. I have a lot of the old Nintendo games of Link that I have for the Wii U. And yeah, there's no Link. You do get to see him in a cutscene, which is nice, but there's also no weapons either. This is where you actually get to play as Zelda with a wand, where you can make copies of elements like water, objects, or monsters, and the monsters fight for you. So if you're kind of like a management kind of style, a kind of puzzle style of working through stuff, maybe even like a Stardew type of style of game, this is going to be for you. But again, you only get a wand. There's no actual weapons. Even in Stardew, you got a weapon, but yeah, this one you just have a wand. So again, I don't necessarily like the wand aspect. Okay, I'm the kind of guy that wants to get in there and fight. Okay, that's what I enjoy to play. But so, hey, maybe some people would really enjoy this. Maybe kind of more like a Harvest Moon style, or like Port of Portia, or there's actually a Port of Sandstone or Sand Rock. I think it's Sand Rock. So yeah, there's definitely an audience for this, and I do think it's cool we get to actually play as Zelda, but I don't get a sword. I'm kind of bummed about that. But yeah, this is again September 26th. Next, we get to see Lego Horizon Adventures. This is holiday of 2024. Again, it's a Lego game, 2.5D kind of style, co-op, multiplayer. You get to explore, you get to fight against the machines, and it also looked like there was some bosses too as you play through the story. So I don't think this is an expansion of Horizon. I think this is just what we've seen so far with Horizon 1 and 2. And it did look pretty good. But again, it's like, I want an actual Horizon game. Like we got to see this during Summer Game Fest, and it's like, man, I want another Horizon game. I don't want a Lego game. Lego games have its place, absolutely. But hopefully we're getting Horizon 3 at some point. Next, we got to see some ports. So we got Stray coming in holiday 2024, which you get to be a cat and play through a fairly short story of roaming through the city and all that good stuff. We also got Ace Attorney Collection. This is September 2nd, and you get 2 games, and you get to play the classic graphics, or you can play the updated graphics, which is cool. But basically, you play through the stories of helping solve mysteries, getting evidence for your case, and playing through the story in the courtroom. Which I've actually wanted to play those. Haven't yet. We also got to see 100 Line. This is 2025. And this is where basically there's war going on like there is in almost every single Japanese game. And you're put into an academy, which is militarized. And you basically train and try to keep the enemy away from your school or your academy for 100 days. That's the goal. And of course, as you progress through those 100 days, it gets harder and harder and harder. And so it looked like there was some abilities. There was actually some combat there, but it kind of seemed more like almost like a tower defense type of style. And yeah, it did look interesting. I definitely suggest looking at the trailers. There's quite a bit of information there, and also some gameplay too, which was nice. Next, we got Romantic Saga 2. This is a remake, October 24. I know nothing about the story or the game or the IP, but honestly, it did look fairly good. It looked something like I would enjoy playing. But again, take a look at the trailer. Next, we got a Metroid Prime 4. Finally, Metroid Prime 4. They saved this right at the end. This is coming 2025. And for those of you that have played Metroid Prime, like on GameCube and stuff, oh god, it looks exactly like we were hoping for. Okay, you get to see through the visor. You get to see your little right-handed gun on the screen toward the bottom, and you get to run through and you get to scan stuff. There's combat. You get some exploration in there. We love that kind of stuff. And yeah, it looks great. But again, 2025. So my overall thoughts for the entire thing is that I give it a B minus. There was a lot of good announcements. There was also a lot of collections and HDs and remakes, which these are good. There was about 10 of these. But again, it's like I want more IPs. I want more expansions to the story, like Metroid Prime 4. That's what I want. Again, we got a lot of collections like Dragon Quest. We got Luigi's Mansion 2, Metal Slug, Donkey Kong Returns. We got some updates too, like basketball for Nintendo Sports. We got World Champions NES Edition, which again, none of these are bad, but there were just so many. We also had classic collections. We also had a fighting collection, Ace Attorney collection. We did also have some ports too, which was good, like Stray. And there were a lot of games, too, that were like, it's coming in 2025. But again, it's like we're at a point in the gaming industry for myself personally where I'm tired of the remakes. I'm tired of the collections. Like, those have their place. But I'm wanting to see some real progression and IPs on the table. Okay, I want to see a new Mario Party Jamboree game like we're getting, right? I want to see a new game like Mario Luigi Brothership. I want to see Fairy Tail 2. I want to see new creations like Funko Fusion. Whether I may not necessarily like that, I'm glad that you're trying something new and trying to make it entertaining. And then too with like Lego Horizon Adventures. Again, this is going to be another great Lego game for everybody besides Xbox. And trying something new with like Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. I would rather try something new and different instead of just rehashing the same stuff. And I feel like everybody is kind of doing that right now, or has been. And I understand there was COVID. I understand there were other issues and lockdowns, and it really messed up a lot of stuff. But we want to get to a point where we're getting back into real IPs again. and I really, unfortunately, I really missed that. Something too is that the whole thing was at a really quick pace, which was great. It shows what we needed. Everything was under 45 minutes, and it was actually a really good paced showcase. The other thing too is it we got to see gameplay for almost every single one. The announcement trailers were good. We had a few of those, but we pretty much got to see gameplay for every single announcement that they had. And you can go look at those trailers. There's one for all of them, pretty much. One thing that was a little disappointing is we didn't have any announcements for the Switch 2. We have heard some rumors of some issues with the Switch 2. We've also got to see, at least hear of one actual delay for the Switch. And this is looking like it's more going to be 2025. And are we going to get another Direct in the fall of 2024? It's like, okay, we've already had a Direct earlier for Nintendo, like in March. Now we're having a Nintendo Direct in June. And then it's like, do we get another one? So are we getting to a point, too, with some of these bigger companies like the Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch? Are we getting to a point where now we're going to have 3 every year? And I honestly think that's way too much. 2 is already enough, and for somebody like me that wants to cover this and consolidate it for you guys, that makes it a little rough. So, we did get to see a lot of multiplayer, a lot of co-ops, a lot of RPGs, and a lot of classics from decades ago. I think that's wonderful. It's good to see those. We've had some remakes, like Last of Us Part 2 was a remake after 3.5 years, and it's like, dude, that's too early. That's kind of ridiculous. I think it at least needs to be a decade, because in a decade you get new players, you get a new generation that's kind of coming online into the gaming space, and having remakes can be a great way to have them experience the old classics that we did, right? And it's also, too, they can refine a few things, like what they did with the Dead Space remake. They refined, like, being able to have grav boots, so you could kind of fly around in space when there was zero gravity, which was wonderful. That was a great feature that they added to the game. Something, too, is, like, the whole showcase felt relevant. So there was only a few things that were coming 2025, and then, but well over the bulk of it was coming 2024. And I feel like the other showcases that we've had, it's like 2025, 2025, 2025, 26 maybe. And there's been a lot of that, unfortunately. And so this one felt very relevant. It was very nice to be able to see that in the showcase, because all of this is coming within like 6 months. Almost all of it. One thing, too, to notice was that when we got to hear from the heads or the creators of some of these games and IPs, they were actually pretty old. And we've talked about this a little bit in the industry. We've talked about this a little bit with some other stuff like States of Gaming and in news, is that we've had a lot of retirements. And with these retirements, there goes the experience. We've also had layoffs, too, which, again, there goes the experience. And we have a lot of new people coming on scene. And this is affecting our games. I think that's pretty apparent to see. And so it's still nice to see, at least in Nintendo space, there's a lot of old folks that are still there, where they're still working through their vision, creating new games for us. And I think that's wonderful. I think that we can kind of guarantee that there's going to be some innovation there, and we're going to love these games that they're putting out. So thanks for tuning in, folks. If there's any of these that are curious to you, go ahead and take a look at the trailers. Down below, I'll make sure to link the actual Nintendo Direct itself so that you can watch that. And, of course, too, thank you for listening to Gaming Garbage. You can always follow me at Gaming Garbage 22 over at YouTube. You can also follow me at Don't Tread on Thee on Twitch. And then don't forget our Discord. It's not just a chat mingle with others of the channel or whatever. It's also a hub. I'm trying to make it a hub for folks to be able to find other players, regardless of game or platform. And we really miss that. For some of you, you might be young enough, you don't really know what it was like in the 2000s. Or even in the 90s, and being able to grow up with multiplayer back then was wonderful. And the split screen and the couch co-op kind of stuff, and it was a blast, and it was easy to make friends, it was easy to connect with people, and we just were gamers, and that's all it was. And now I think everything is so segregated and separated, it's just convoluted and just frustrating, and it'd be great to have multiplayer come back. And so come join us for other folks that we're fairly patient. We are kind of an older crowd, so be patient with us. But let's make some friends, folks. Let's actually have clans again, have tournaments again. All of that used to be normal, and it'd be wonderful to bring it back. So thanks for tuning in, folks. Hopefully you guys are doing well, and we will see you on the next one.